My name is Dr. Susan Brasher with the Atlanta Autism Consortium, and tonight's panel program is going to feature Dr. Plattner and her rest of her team here about myLIFE and what they have to offer. So I will turn it to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Amanda Plattner. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm the Director of Adult Behavioral Intervention Services at the Emory Autism Center. So that means our counseling clinic and our myLIFE program. Today, we're going to focus on our myLIFE program, which is a program I am so excited to talk about with you all. I love this program. I think all of our staff love this program. And I think hopefully our members really love the program. And so we're super excited to share the program with you. And I really want to encourage you. I see people are already talking in the chat now. So after I do a little bit of an introduction, I will be taking charge of the chat and I'll be able to answer your questions while other folks are chatting. I also will hold any questions for specific people. So if you have questions for our myLIFE members or for our clinical team, I'll keep track of them and make sure to call them out at the end. So please feel free to add questions into the chat. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions of myself if you have any questions of our clinical staff or our trainees, or if you have any questions for our myLIFE members who are a part of the program, you're welcome to ask those questions. And again, I'll make sure to keep track of them, and then we'll get to them at the end. All right, so sorry, we didn't practice sharing my screen, but let's see if I can do it. Actually, before I share my screen, let's let everyone introduce themselves. So like I said, I'm a clinical psychologist. I have been at the Emory Autism Center for 3 years now. I work across the lifespan doing assessment, intervention, and a little bit of research, but mostly assessment and intervention. Holly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Holly Abernathy. I'm a clinician here at the Emory Autism Center. So I see people one-on-one, and I also facilitate several of our clinical programs within the myLIFE program.
Ben?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Dell, pronouns they, them, theirs. I am a recent addition to the staff at the Emory Autism Center and in the myLIFE program. I am a clinical rehab counselor, and I have experience working in post-secondary education and in supporting folks who are on the job search. I'm really excited to be working here in the myLIFE program and also in the counseling clinic. I'm also joined today by my little office assistant, Dahlia, my little black cat. You will likely see her walk across the screen until she finds a comfy place to sit down. Excited to talk to you all about the myLIFE program today. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Krista.
Hi, everyone. My name is Krista Lamott. I am a practicum student at the myLIFE program. I started this summer, so I'm just a few months in, and I help to support some of the clinical and support groups, as well as we'll have some individual counseling clients. So looking forward to talking more about this great program.
Okay, and William.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Story. I'm a member of the myLIFE program's young adult professionals group, and I'm here to talk about what that's like.
Thank you. And we had Ariel here who has disappeared. So hopefully when they return, they'll introduce themselves, unless they're just not on my screen. Does anyone see them? They've disappeared, right? Oh, the power went out.
Power went out, which we knew might be a problem.
All right, so hopefully they will be able to return, and then we'll let them introduce themselves when they hop on. Okay, I am going to try to share my screen. Let's see how this goes. Give me 1 second. Okay. Can we see it? Yes, I think I did it right.
Yep, looks great.
Okay. So these are the slides that we use when we do our info sessions. Anyone is welcome and invited to an info session to learn about the myLIFE program. I'm going to go quicker through some of them because some of our clinicians are going to be able to spend more time on them. The really awesome thing about tonight is that different from when we do our regular info sessions where we're just kind of speaking about our program and it's really just kind of me or Ben or one of like a couple of us doing that. Tonight you have our clinical team, you have a trainee, and you have hopefully 2 of our actual members. And so I think that gives a really kind of rich experience of what myLIFE is, and you get to ask questions, and you don't just get to hear the answers from me, who runs the program, but from all the people who are a part of it. So again, please feel free to take advantage of the opportunity of the kind of vast different types of folks who are on the call. Okay, you already got a little bit of introduction. Most everyone who ever interacts with the myLIFE program, actually not most, everyone who interacts with the myLIFE program will, if you're not already, will become familiar with Miss Tony Thomas. Tony, I think is on, but not as a panelist. But I just wanted to stop here real quick because she didn't introduce herself, but she is an integral part of our program. She actually started the myLIFE program many years ago when it started, and is really an important key player in the program. And I just want you to know her name, because if you join us, if you think about joining us, you will know her. And then we've got lots of fabulous interns. We've got billing staff, operations. We have Katie Rogers, who works at the front desk at the Emory Autism Center and is fabulous front desk staff, but also a really amazing and important part of our team running some of our rec groups. But let's talk about, like, what is myLIFE? And I'm going to talk about this again pretty quickly, because I really want to kind of give an opportunity for our clinicians here to talk really about what they do on the day-to-day. But essentially, the thing that I want y'all to know about myLIFE, if you've never heard anything about myLIFE, is myLIFE is about being and belonging. It is different from it's not a day program, but it's not a 1-hour pop-in social skill group. So myLIFE is a community. You don't graduate out of myLIFE. You can come to myLIFE whenever you want. It's for autistic adults 18 plus, although we have just started a high school group this summer that we piloted, and I think we'll be continuing that. So that's really cool. And I think that was 15 plus. Really the intention is to create an inclusive, neurodiverse, supportive, warm community where people get to learn the skills that they want to learn in order to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish to achieve the quality of life that you or they want to achieve. That's the intention of the myLIFE program. So what's happening in myLIFE is not necessarily prescribed by what I think that 26-year-old autistic adult should know or learn, but it's really based on what you, if you're the potential member, or your loved one, if they're the potential member, says, hey, this is what I want out of my life. I want to learn to live independently, or I want to be able to get and keep a job. Then we kind of work together to come up with goals and ideas around what that might look like and how do you get there. So I'll talk a little bit more about the structure in a second, but I think one of the reasons why I came to Emory to be a part of this program is because it's really unique in the way that it is not, again, not a day program, not a 1-hour social skills group, but really kind of a mixture of all and both and none of those things at the same time. So myLIFE, oops, I went too fast. Let's see. Too fast again. Okay, so individuals 18 plus who are seeking to build skills, supporting work, home, social environment. Again, we have a new high school group that started this summer that will be continuing. But essentially what we think about are social skills, physical wellness, emotion regulation, executive functioning, life skills, self-awareness, vocational skills. But all of these things are in the context of social engagement, social learning. So we're not, and I know there's a question, I can't look at it while I'm talking, but I will get back to it. But we are not teaching someone a specific vocational skill necessarily. So we may not be teaching someone how to, I don't know, how to make sandwiches at Subway or something like that. Although we do actually do lots of cooking, but that was the first thing that popped into my head. But what we're teaching is, how do you write your resume? How do you get along with your colleagues? How do you talk to a boss? How do you advocate for yourself in the workplace? So all of the kind of social skills that are necessary to be successful in lots of different areas are the things that we focus on. We do actually teach other pieces and other skills, or practice or work on or build other skills. But really the thing that we're focusing on is all of that in the social context. Okay. Again, we're really working on kind of building community, expanding social connections, building, skill building in the context of that community. We're based on the Claremont campus. We also use Emory's main campus a lot. We have some programs that are via Zoom, but the majority of our programs are in person. And we work on like a session basis based on the college calendar, essentially. So we have a fall session, a spring session, a summer session. Like I said, you don't ever graduate out of the myLIFE program. So you could come to the fall session. You could then take a break for the spring session because maybe you're taking classes or you have a lot of family stuff going on or you're just overwhelmed. And then you could come back in the summer. We're here. We're a community. We're here for you anytime. And this is such an interesting way that this PowerPoint is working tonight. I've never seen it do quite what it's doing right now. The other thing that I think is really cool and interesting about it before we dive into like what is it actually, what happens in these groups, is that folks get to make their own schedule. So essentially we function out of an apartment on Emory's campus. And the reason for that is that we want to teach skills and relationship building and all of that in the context where many adults would be doing this anyway. And so a college campus and a dorm or a student housing on a college campus is an ideal place to do that. And part of that is that the way that we design the program is that you guys get to, or people who are part of the program, our members, get to choose what they want to do and what they don't want to do and kind of build a schedule just like you would if you were in college and taking college classes. You build out your schedule the way that you want it to be. And there's 3 different types of groups, and we're going to talk way more about these different types of groups. But there are clinical groups, support groups, and rec groups. And so we recommend strongly that everyone is in a clinical group, and we help you kind of figure out what that clinical group might be. And then after you're assigned a clinical group, then you kind of get to fill your schedule with the other groups that you want. So that's something that I think is really neat about the program. So someone who just wants to do one group might be with us just maybe 3 hours a week. But if you are someone who wants more interaction and more engagement and more community and more learning, then you might be with us almost every day of the week in different types of activities. And again, the rest of our team will talk more about this. I don't want to take up too much time. Oh my goodness, little bird, that was cool. So I am going to pass it off to our fabulous Holly or Ben. Who am I passing it off to? Holly and Ben and Krista, and they'll talk to you about what we do in our groups.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everyone. So I'm kind of learning some of these transitions with these slides as well, so bear with me. But on this one, you can kind of see how our clinical programs are broken down. So within our clinical groups, we could really focus on a variety of different skills per semester. So what we base a lot of our learning on what our members want to learn. So we might do a survey before the program begins or the first week of the program, just to hear about what skills are you wanting to learn. And then we'll kind of cater our planning around those skills so that we can try to incorporate what makes the most sense and what we have time for. So just to give you an example of that, it might be executive functioning, friendships and dating, adult living, emotion regulation. It could really be a wide variety. You can also see on the left side, yeah, right there on the left side where it has Discover Life, Engage Life, and then it continues. Those are the names of our clinical groups. So our clinical group breakdown is based on age. But we also have groups across the spectrum, and those are based on personality, cognitive profile, an array of things, because we really want our members within each clinical program to kind of be similar to each other, whether that's how they communicate, how they learn, their personality, what they find funny, those sorts of things, because we really want to foster an environment that promotes connection, building friendships, and learning. Next slide, please. So just to kind of give you an example, is there anything else that pops up on this slide? No. Okay. You can go back. Just to kind of give you an example of what a day within one of our clinical programs looks like. This is somewhat of a breakdown. Again, it kind of depends what group you're in because we try to match it to each member's needs, but this is just a general snapshot of what a day in a clinical program might look like. So we do spend some time with a check-in. What that check-in looks like is different. It could be drawing an emotion check-in, like an image to represent how you're feeling, and then it could be looking at an emotion wheel together to try to expand our vocabulary when we communicate how we're feeling. But within the emotion check-in, we just kind of want to learn where you're at so we know how to support you throughout the day. But we also want to promote you and learning how to communicate how you're feeling, but also figuring out like what are some of the new words that I can more accurately express how I'm feeling. So really expanding that vocabulary, communicating, but also helping us know where you're at. And then we'll often have some lesson reviews and lesson introductions. So that kind of goes back to the topics I was discussing. So in the beginning, whenever you're voting on what you might want to learn throughout this semester, we'll create a lesson and some activities around that so that we can really engage in a version of learning, whether that's a video, some hands-on activities, verbal, whatever meets each person's learning needs. And that kind of goes into that third point with the activities. A lot of times we'll do that within our apartment as well, so that we have some different rooms, some different props and different TVs and things like that to really help engage our members. And then you can see under naturalistic learning opportunities, within a lot of our groups, we really want to take whatever we've learned throughout the day and apply it throughout the entirety of our day. So if it's something specific with social skills, we might apply that in the cafeteria or on the shuttle or when we're engaging with different student organizations. So we're really trying to take what we're learning and maybe in what feels like an apartment setting, dorm setting, whatever, and applying it into the real world on campus and across the groups that we're connected with. And then of course we try to incorporate some interest-based activities because that is one of the best ways to really foster learning is to have that initial interest. Next slide, please. This is a fun example of a team building activity. So sometimes within our day, if we're really focusing on some social skills, we might engage in a hands-on activity that really promotes some targeted social skills. So for example, within this one, the goal was to work together as a team to build a parachute that holds an egg so that when we dropped it from each of those levels that you can see in the bottom picture, the egg hopefully does not crack. I don't think there were any casualties in this group from what I recall. There might have been one slight crack in an egg. But within these activities, they're fun, which is important. But also we can target key skills. So like, how do you have a leader within your group? Are you asking what you can be working on? Are you working together to reach the same goal? So it's really targeting a few social skills that may have been identified earlier on in the semester. Next slide, please. I spoke a little bit about this. We really connect with a lot of Emory student organizations, and our members typically seem to really love that, and we really love that too. So we have Friends for myLIFE, which is in the spring and the fall part of our Discover Life group. So our members engage with that student organization and just engage in a lot of interest-based fun activities where they get to interact with their same-aged peers, whether those peers are or are not on the spectrum. They just get extra socialization and get to have fun and make connections and friendships. And then we have gardening, which a lot of times our Navigate Life group is involved in. And we have a few other groups who take some turns within the garden. Emory's campus has several gardens, and we like to take care of the one closest to the center. A good way to get out in nature, but also a great way to connect with others, socialize with our same-aged peers, but have some goals around what it means to garden and take those vegetables and cook with them if we have some cooking goals within that specific group. So it can be a wide variety of skills kind of embedded within that one activity. And then Spark, that's within our Explore Life group, again in the spring and the fall semesters. And that is held through the business school, and they really get to zero in on some vocational skills. So things like interviewing, resume building. They do some really neat presentations at the end of the semester where they get to actually practice presenting something that's interest-based. So it's fun, it's of interest, but also I get to learn what it means to present in front of a safe crowd of people. Next slide, please. All right, Ben, I will hand this over to you.
All right, thank you, Holly. Like Dr. Plattner introduced earlier, we don't just have clinical groups, we have like a wide variety of groups here in the myLIFE program, one of those being support groups. And so similarly to how we have our clinical groups that group members based on shared experiences, interests, and maybe what they're looking to get out of being a part of myLIFE, we also have a variety of support groups available. So we have our LGBTQIA+ support group, a men's group, the professionals group, and then also a women's group. And so all of these have a little bit of a different format and function, which has been developed in partnership by whoever is leading the group and then also the members, because we really want our groups to be member-led. But ultimately, they all have the same aims, which is to provide a space to share experiences and listen to others, to learn more about how and when you feel connected to others, and to practice asking for and providing support in a space that is dedicated to that. I have had the great pleasure to be able to lead the LGBTQIA+ support group for the past year, and it's been really cool to connect with the members in this group and to find ways to support them as the group leader, but also to see them support themselves and support one another, and to start building a community. We meet virtually for that group, but then we also try to find ways to get connected, and we went to Atlanta Pride last year and we marched in the Trans March, and we partnered with the professionals group and went to Rocky Horror Picture Show. And so we try to have fun. We want the support group to feel like a place where people can get the care and the support that they need, but we also want to like support to have those really positive life experiences of just being able to have fun with one another. I've also been in the professionals group with Dr. Plattner and with William over the past year, and that group really felt like a social club a lot of the time. We would play games, we would go to dinner, we had plans to go to karaoke and go on hikes. And so it was a really sort of like natural environment where we could get to know one another, have some fun experiences together. And then in that time, people were able to open up about what was going on in their life and to really be able to connect with other people who maybe had had experiences like theirs when they felt like maybe they were the only person who had ever felt that way before. So I'm a really big proponent of support groups, and I feel like they complement what's happening in our clinical groups as well, because it's another natural opportunity to be able to practice whatever skills a member might be trying to develop in any of the other groups that they're in. We can go on to the next slide. Another group that we are developing, it's kind of come out of the high school group that happened this summer and connecting with our volunteer group, where we identify that a lot of our members are on the job search. They're really interested in getting a job and developing skills that will help them to be successful once they secure employment. And so we are working on providing workplace readiness and training to our members through volunteer work experiences. And so this is a really cool opportunity to develop those social and interpersonal skills that might be specific to the workplace. Like Holly was talking about with the garden, when you are doing an activity or working on a project with other people, there are going to be those things that come up. Like somebody's going to have an idea of how we could do something differently and is going to need to find a way that they can comfortably share that with the group. There's going to be moments where somebody tries something for the first time and they realize, you know what, I don't actually really like doing this. We took a volunteer group to work in the garden and everybody participated, did the activities, but then afterwards one of my group members said, you know, Ben, that was fine, but I don't think I ever want to garden again. And I'm like, that's cool, like thank you so much for doing it. Because I really feel like that we need to have experiences to be able to make choices and make decisions about what we want in our life. Some other aims of this group are to identify what are specific soft skills, sometimes also called employability skills, that are growth areas for a member. This could also be complemented by a clinical group, but this would be a specific experience where maybe something that you didn't know was a challenge area or a growth area for you might reveal itself when you are working with a team on a service project. And so this is another opportunity to identify what do I need to learn more about. And then again, really want to support experience working so that an individual can make informed choices related to work and employment in the future. These principles are kind of embedded in a lot of the groups that we do, but the workplace readiness group is trying to focus in on those things.
Sorry, I was like, you're done, Ben. Click
No
on
worries, no worries, no worries.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I could talk like probably for the whole hour about job readiness. So I will happily hand it over to Krista to start talking about recreational activities.
Thank you, Ben. So our last group, set of groups is our rec groups. And those are led by either a clinician or a student like myself or a volunteer. It's really things that our community is interested in. We have a drama club, a Dungeons and Dragons club led by Ben, a poetry club, community service. So these are things that our members, if they have a specific interest in one of these topics, they can join and engage in these topics with other members who have a similar interests. Book club, movie club, doing some fitness club, and these kind of change semester by semester, kind of depending on who's available to run them and the interests of the staff as well. But try to really make sure that we're robustly covering sort of the interests of our members so that they can get together and work on social skills and develop friendships through these.
Yes, thank you, Krista. So I see that there's stuff going on in the chat, and I promise I'm going to get to the chat in a second once I stop sharing my screen. But I'm going to quickly go through just kind of some other pieces of the program, and then I really want to get to our members so that they can speak about what's going on, you know, what their lived experience of the groups are. I will just say real fast about rec groups. The aim of the myLIFE program is to serve our community. And so we are very open and very excited to change, add, kind of move around rec groups in particular based on what people want, what people feel like they need, what people are interested in. And so again, like Krista said, some of these groups exist all the time, but some of them we trade out for other groups. If someone has a really strong interest in something that's not on here, but you come to us and you say, hey, I'm really interested in this, then we try to make it happen. And I want to say really quickly that one of the reasons that we're talking today and we want to do this through the AAC is not just to kind of tell you about our program. Yes, we want you to know that we're here. We want you to know what we're doing and what's going on, but also like we want to connect with all of you in the community, whether you're a professional, a parent, a caregiver, a loved one, a person with autism, or whoever you are. Like we want to connect with the community because, again, as I said, our intention is to serve our community, and we can only do that by you guys letting us know what you want and what you need. So again, I'm going to come to the chat in a second, but please feel free, even if you don't have a question, throw in the chat like, hey, if I were to do myLIFE, I'd love this type of rec group, or this is something I feel like we're really missing from our community. How, like, this is how you could better serve adults. Like, we want to learn from and with you. So please feel free to share any of that stuff with us. I'm going to just go through a couple quick things because I imagine some of these are questions that people might have, but then I'm really going to pass it off to our members. We also have social activities that are open to all myLIFE members. So sometimes we have Saturday activities. We have a holiday party. We have a spring party, a summer party. So we try to do lots of different things that anyone can come to. They're almost always free, and they're just a chance for us all to be together and hang out and enjoy each other's company. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to skip some of these. Are just some fun things that we've done in the community, and I'm happy to share these slides with people who are interested in them, or to kind of talk through them again further with anyone who wants more information. Again, these are a bunch of places that we access on Emory's campus or around Emory's campus. So we are not just like sitting in a building. We are out and about, moving, grooving, going places, doing things, ordering food, all of that kind of stuff. Where we do things on campus, which is really cool because, again, like, we're trying to learn skills in naturalistic settings. So if there are fun things going on campus that any of the Emory students would go to, we try to go to those things as well, and take part in things and join in. I'm going to skip all of these, but these are all fun things that we do and all fun places that we go. And again, I'm happy to talk individually with anyone about any of these things. If you see something while I'm quickly going through them. And again, like I said before, we function out of an apartment. So those were just pictures of our apartment. One thing I want to stress is that we have interns, practicum students, service learning students. We've got a ton of different folks who are a part of the myLIFE program in different ways. And I think that makes the program really rich. So if you said, hey, like last year, we had someone who said like, hey, I really want to do drama. And so we end up getting a drama club together with a drama person who was familiar with drama therapy. So we really kind of have lots of connections to the community. So if you are someone in the community and you have something to bring to the myLIFE program or a program like it, please let us know. Reach out to me if you say, hey, I actually know how to teach photography and I'd love to teach a photography rec group. Like we love that too. Skip over some of these. We have, at any given session, we have between 85 to 100 volunteer peer mentors. Those are mostly Emory students who work with us. You might have remembered that I said before that we really try to have a neurodiverse community. And so we really love having Emory students join us and kind of serve as friends, models, peer mentors, group members with all of us. So that's something really special. And I'm going to go quickly through some of these things. We can talk about, well, really quickly, qualifications. So most people have a diagnosis of autism. People need to be able to take care of their own self-care needs. So like using the restroom and getting dressed themselves. You need to have some sort of way to communicate. It does not have to be verbally, but some way of communication. Want to be a part of the myLIFE program. So we don't take anyone whose parents are like, hey, I really want my loved one to be a part of it, but they don't want to. Then we say, okay, come back when you want to. And COVID vaccination, as that's relevant. And then we ask that there's no recent history of aggressive behaviors because our staff is just not in a position to handle some of those behaviors and keep themselves safe, keep the members safe, and keep the rest of the group safe. And if you have a mental health history or significant mental illness or significant, like more recent risk history, then we ask that you talk to us about it and we kind of figure out one-on-one if it's a good fit for you. But certainly I'm happy to answer any of those other any questions about qualifications later. We're going to skip over expectations and program offerings. But I know I didn't even get to read them, but I know there was some questions about payment in the chat. So I'm just going to briefly go over this and then I'm going to turn it over. So about 85% of our members are self-pay. Some of our members, a small percentage, use DBHDD funding, about 10%. And then a small percentage, 5% of our members use GVRA. And we're happy to talk to you. Our team is happy to talk to you if you're interested in learning more about funding for myLIFE. Okay, I am going to actually stop sharing now. I'm going to turn it over to our fabulous members. So I'm going to turn it over to William to start, and we'll get to hear just about William's experience with the program. And if you have any questions specifically for William or Ariella as they're talking, definitely, again, put them in the chat and I will ask them once they finish speaking. Go for it.
Hello. So I'm William Story once again. I joined the myLIFE program, specifically the Young Professionals group, and one of the clinical groups, I believe it was Explore Life. I can never, the names sound very similar sometimes. I apologize. And ultimately ended up sticking primarily with the Young Professionals group. This would have been in 2021, I believe, 2020, somewhere around there. It was right as COVID was starting. So we moved all online, which was, an experience for everyone, I'm sure. But it's been a really rewarding group because it provides two main things. It provides sort of a support network. So it's a group of people that also have dealt with many of the same sorts of problems that I've encountered just as an autistic individual trying to navigate in the world, especially at the specific stage in life that I am in. And that sort of troubleshooting help can be very powerful, very useful, because there's all sorts of weird situations that you just wouldn't think of until you encounter it. And oftentimes the only people who have solutions to those problems are people who have also encountered the problem and had to find a way to deal with it. So in that regard, it's a really valuable program. But on top of that is, and as sort of alluded to by Ben, it is sort of a social club as well. It provides a sort of community, it provides a group of friends, and it provides an opportunity to get out of at least my comfort zone as someone who's sort of traditionally been kind of introverted and really get engaged with other people. And I think that, at least from many of the other autistic individuals I know, that seems to be a trend of people who sort of withdraw and don't get out. And so these social groups are really valuable in providing a healthy and a positive opportunity to come out and actually talk to other people and just be social. And I think that opportunity to just like be is one of the most valuable aspects of it. Usually groups go for about an hour. We alternate between virtual sessions and in-person sessions. Usually the virtual sessions are more talking. We check in with each other, see what's going on in life, and if there's any novel problems that people are looking for solutions for or just need to vent their frustrations on. And then sometimes we have like specific topics that we want to address or discuss to try and maybe navigate how to deal with more common issues, dating or just relationships in general with other people. Romantic and non-romantic is one of the big ones, but we've also had sort of discussions on dealing with stress, on dealing with loss and grief, and those act more as they're not really clinical but per se, but they're opportunities for us as a group to try and come together and figure out strategies to handle problems in life. Then in-person meetings, as has already been alluded to, tend to be very wide ranged in what we end up doing, from going to seeing Rocky Horror Picture Show to just meeting up and playing board games or watching a movie or something. So it's a really pleasant and rewarding experience, and it's one that I truly wish I had been able to come to earlier in life, because I think that a lot of the skills that I've sort of honed here, I wish I had had the opportunity to hone in this sort of environment when I was like 19 or 20.
Thanks, William. Is there anything that you feel like you've experienced? Because we talk a lot about like, we want to do things to serve the community, we're flexible. Like, do you have experience where you said, hey, I want to do this or try this, or like opportunities for leadership in my life that have been fun, meaningful, stressful a little bit to you that you want to share about?
Um, it depends on what you mean by leadership, right? So I try to I'm one of the members that likes to talk the most, I guess is how I'd put it. So I just by virtue of being the sort of person that talks a lot, I tend to take on sort of a facilitating or moderating role just in general conversation sometimes. I also have like a pretty broad range of random and esoteric knowledge that sometimes is useful and sometimes isn't. So I try to provide that where I can. I have run the men's group or co-run with another counselor for a summer session, and it was rewarding, but also difficult to organize, especially because it was an all online program. So sometimes people wouldn't show up. Sometimes we'd have like 3 or 4 members out of the like 9 that had enrolled, and that forces rapid changes in like what was planned to be done. You can't do with 4 people rather than 9 people. And so sometimes there are situations like that that arose. Was rewarding in the sense that it provided an opportunity to hone leadership skills as well, I think. And I think that that's a really valuable opportunity for individuals like myself who probably just have not had that kind of opportunity before, due to sort of a social awkwardness or just the luck of the draw, as it were.
Thanks, William. I asked that question knowing that that experience in particular was, I hope, hopefully a good one, but also challenging. Because I want to really highlight that, like, I think in order to be a part of the autism neurodiverse community, you have to be willing to be flexible and always learning. And so like we definitely are. So we try really hard to make sure that our members have opportunities for leadership and growth within the myLIFE program. But something that I guess I want to say that we hope happens in the myLIFE program and beyond is that like we also take feedback from our members. So like we work together to kind of try to figure out like how it works. And so William led this group, and then I was like, William, tell me how it went. Let's figure it out. And so then I go back to my team and we talk through, okay, here's what was successful, here's what wasn't successful, and how do we better support William, other members in the future to take on leadership opportunities. So it really is very much kind of a community approach to like, you know, I may know a lot about autism from my clinical experience, but William knows a lot about autism from his lived experience. And we work together to figure out how do we put those things together to make everyone kind of have the most successful opportunities. And when we have opportunities that don't feel as successful, we're like, all right, how can we try it again? Or do we want to try it again? So thanks for sharing your experience, William. Okay, I'll come back. We'll come back to questions because I want to make sure Ariel gets time and we'll come back. But thank you, William. Ariel, go ahead.
My name is Ariel. I use pronouns they, them, theirs. I was diagnosed late, so I literally got my diagnosis in my sophomore year of college. And 2 weeks later, we went into the pandemic. So I ended up figuring that by myself while navigating, probably taking 4 or 5 college classes in undergrad and not really feeling as connected with other autistic people. I just kind of felt like I was the only one. on campus in a way. And then as the pandemic started to, I guess, wane a bit and we began to have more hybrid classes, I decided to give the myLIFE program a try over the summer last year. So I started out with the women's group, with Explore Life, and with Disney Club. I couldn't choose between Disney Club or Games Night, but Disney Club was pretty fun. Um, it's very participant led in a way, so we get to decide what we like to learn or what we want to talk about during the semester, which is really great. And it's nice getting to connect with other people around my age and I guess cognitive profile in a way in some of the groups. And it was really helpful to get to meet someone in the program that also goes to the university that I go to, and we got to connect on campus, which is great. She actually helped me with my social work assignment for having to do a mock interview, and she's a journalism major, so we kind of helped one another in that, and that was really fun getting to. And we both graduated together this year, so that was exciting. Group work is something that I really don't like in university, and being in the program, we do a lot of group activities together, like the egg drop or some things that we do in our communication activities. And I started grad school this year in the MSW program, and we have a lot of group assignments. It's crazy. Every assignment's a group assignment, but I think back to having to, okay, figure out who's going to lead this activity when I'm doing those assignments in the university. So it's been really helpful and getting more used to, not saying that I fully like it, but more used to doing group assignments. And I don't really know. William pretty much like said everything that I would have wanted to say. But it's like been amazing getting to connect with other people. We even create a Discord where we do games night on the weekends. I've really been able to do that with people my age who are also on the spectrum. So that's really amazing. And we do drawing games. We do Cards Against Humanity as well. And a lot of fun things. And I guess like we reach out to one another, check up on how we're doing outside the group. I was able to even connect with someone that I met in women's group, and we went out to the movies, made homemade ice cream together, and hang out doing video games. And I never really got to do that even in high school or grade school. I never really had friends, so it's nice to get to connect with people and have friendships for once. So I wouldn't really have been able to do that without giving the program a shot. So I'm glad that I did.
Thank you, Ariel. Can you, if you are up for it, can you talk a little bit more about like maybe how you felt when you first joined the program versus how you feel now in terms of comfort level with the program, the other members, all of that?
I was really nervous on my first day. I remember the first day of women's group, and I didn't know what to expect, but everyone was so nice and welcoming, and I liked how we each got a chance to share about one another, but also how supportive each group member is to one another and non-judgmental. I really appreciate that. I'm still kind of introverted, but I've grown out of my shell more than I had the first time when I started groups, and that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think we certainly, you know, while I said before, we don't take people who don't want to be in the program because it is really a kind of self-guided program, but we certainly take people who are a little bit nervous about joining. And we say, come on, give it a try. And if you like it, great. And if you don't like it, let's talk about it. So both William and Ariel, you're getting lots of thank yous in the chat. And I thank you also for being here and talking about your experiences. And let me see, I know there were some questions. I tried to answer as many questions as I could. But there were a couple questions about kind of William and Ariel, maybe one or both of you could speak to if you feel like you have a sense. Otherwise, our clinicians can jump in too. But how do you feel like the kind of we manage, or it happens in group that we get to support people with different learning styles, different needs. How do you guys experience that as members first, maybe?
Well, I would say so. When I gave women's group a shot over the summer this year, I was pretty much the only one with like what would be considered an Asperger's profile in a way, but I was able to connect with the other members in that group and kind of help our group facilitator with some of the activities. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like in a Montessori class where you kind of, where the younger kids kind of help the learn from the older kids and the older kids help the younger kids in a way. It was kind of like that interaction where we all learned from one another. So that was really good.
Thank you. William,
So,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You can answer that. I have another question for you too from the chat.
Of course. I'll tack onto that one of the advantages of a group setting where you're not structuring it like a classroom, where you have a single instructor that is providing information and then everybody else that is acquiring that information from that one individual, particularly when you're dealing with like people in the age range that myLIFE targets, from like 18 to 35 or something along those lines. The goal, or the advantage, is that you are able to draw from the well of experience of all of the other members of the group in order to try and convey information. And so even if the information that is trying to be conveyed, or the skills that are trying to be taught, don't match the way they're being taught in the primary lesson or what have you, doesn't make sense to someone, oftentimes you will have a situation where it does make sense to other members, and those other members are then able to sort of translate that information in a way that makes more sense than perhaps the initial lesson plan provided. And this structure allows for a lot of resilience and a lot of adaptability to different learning styles. Does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. The other question that came up for you, William, but I think both of you can answer this. I think it was when you were speaking. William, do you think you would have been as open to the opportunity that the myLIFE program offers when you were 19?
So that's a tough question to answer just because of my exact circumstances at the age of 19, but I think the simple way to put it would be yes. But with a lot of caveats, because as a 19-year-old, I was far more certain that my understanding of the world was correct. And when you are certain that you are right about what you think, it is much harder to dislodge preconceived notions of how circumstances will unfold. You end up sort of predicting the future, catastrophizing, as some might say. And that makes it very difficult to benefit to the greatest extent possible from an environment like this. But I think that also this sort of environment is the only one that could reasonably challenge that kind of preconceived notion, because you have to have experiences to actually like push past them. And at least as a 19-year-old, I was just withdrawn from everything because I was so certain I had figured it all out and there was nothing left to learn. And so I'm just going to sit here and not bother. And being pushed to actually try new things is exactly what I needed at that point in time. Or at least that's how I think of it now. Hopefully that sort of answers the question.
Ariel, do you want to add anything to that answer? Thanks, William.
Okay. Oh gosh, I'm thinking back to being 19. Well, we just moved here from Canada, so I was just like in a gap here, I remember around then. So not really in college yet, still figuring out how to learn how to drive. Remember my first part-time job, that was a nightmare. But I think it would have been nice to connect with other people, and I wasn't even diagnosed yet then either. So wouldn't have been able to join the program yet then, but if I was diagnosed earlier, then yeah, I think that would have been really helpful in figuring out why I was different and connecting with other people like myself.
Thank you. I'm going to answer a couple broad questions that I see coming up in the chat. While I'm doing that, last call, if you have questions for our members or our clinicians, feel free to throw them in the chat. And then after I answer these questions, if anything else has popped up, we'll get to them and then we'll wrap up. So I saw a couple questions about transportation. So we do not provide transportation currently, but there are lots of different ways that people get to our program. So people drive themselves, family members, caregivers, friends help drive. People take Uber or Lyft, people take MARTA, and people take MARTA Mobility. And absolutely, we are totally supportive of people carpooling. So we are happy to, we don't have a carpool system, but we're happy to help you out. If you said, hey, I'm coming from this place, is anyone else coming from that place? We could definitely look and check and see and connect you to them if you want to be connected. We also do a lot of support around helping people be comfortable with Uber, Lyft, if you haven't done that before. So, you know, if you've never done Uber or Lyft, but you're willing to try it, let us know. We can practice with you before you actually start groups. So we're always open to doing some of those things, but we don't have any kind of special myLIFE transportation, just kind of whatever's out there. But again, we're happy to help you learn how to access MARTA Mobility, Uber, Lyft, all of the things that are available to you, and to help kind of support skill building around using any of those options. In terms of, oh, sorry, I see something that popped up about a wait list. So we don't have a wait list for the myLIFE program. This is actually a great time if you're interested in the myLIFE program, because we start our new session, our fall session, on September 11th. So that, thank you for asking that. I think it can be a little misleading because on the Emory Autism Center website, I think it says there's wait lists for all the programs because all the other programs do have a wait list, but we don't. Yes, exactly. So the myLIFE program doesn't. So definitely, please, I know Ben put our emails in the chat earlier. Please email myself and our program manager, Ms. Tony Thomas, and let us know that you're interested, and we will get the application information to you. Because we do not have a wait list. We would love to hear from you if you want to join. And we'd love to hear from you like now if you want to join, because we start doing our one-on-one intakes to get people kind of up and going so that they're ready to start in September. Other thing people are asking about is cost. So I talked about that briefly, but I saw some of our some other like people who are involved in the program put in the chat ways that they've been able to pay for the myLIFE program. So we do have a small subsidy pot. It's really tiny, but it exists. And what I will say is, in the 3 years that I have been here, I don't believe we have turned anyone away because of cost. So we really try to work with you. Our billing team really tries to work with you. So if you're concerned about the cost but want to join, reach out to us and let us know. Typically, if it's your first time ever joining, we'll make sure that you get a little bit of that subsidy, at least if you're a new member. And we do our very best to kind of help you figure out other options, you know, for funding in the community if we don't have funding. So reach out to us. Don't just say, oh, we can't afford it, but like, let us know and we'll work with you as much as we can. What time of day do participants meet? So it's really hard to say because, again, each person is picking their schedule like a college course load. So we have a program sheet that goes out that says all the things that are happening. And then you kind of get to pick and choose what you'd like to do. So you kind of build your own schedule. The only thing that we assign you to is a clinical group based on everyone has a one-on-one intake meeting before they join our groups, and we'll assign you to a clinical group, letting you know kind of what group we think is the best fit for you. But outside of that, you get to choose support groups, rec groups, things like that. So it's hard to say what day or time. Lots of praise for William and Ariel in the chat. So that's lovely to see. The other thing I want to mention is that, you know, Ariel, you mentioned your more Asperger's type profile. And I just want to be really clear that the program serves people all across the spectrum. So we have different groups for people with different levels of support need in different areas. So the folks who you see talking to today may be representative of a certain type of profile that might be familiar to you or not, but feel free, if you know someone, you are someone, you love someone who has a different a profile that appears different from the people on this screen, that is okay. Again, we welcome everyone, and we have programs for everyone. Really, kind of the only requirements, as I said before, is we aren't able to help with like toileting and dressing, and we want to make sure you have a means of communication. But that's really it. Otherwise, we typically have programs and activities for everyone. All right. Any last minute questions, or anyone from our team or our members, anything you'd like to share before we wrap up? Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Brasher, for having us. Thank you all for being on this call. We are really happy to learn and share with you and from you. And I want to echo what I said before, like we are very open again to learning from our community. So absolutely reach out to us if you want to participate, but even if you don't want to participate, but you have ideas, or if you're, I saw we had some people from different states. So if you're from a different state doing something similar and want to talk about what you're doing and collaborate, like we always want to learn. And so that would be really exciting to us. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Dr. Plattner. And I just want to say, on behalf of the Atlanta Autism Consortium, we are thrilled that you were able to present this and have all the different perspectives that you brought today. So I really appreciate your time, William, Holly, Ben, Krista, Amanda, and Ariel, and everybody in the chat was so thrilled to have you as well. So we will look into ways to making this accessible after the fact through the Atlanta Autism Consortium. And in the meantime, feel free to reach out to Amanda and their team with any questions or any comments. And thank you to all the attendees for all the positive feedback for our panelists.